Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to use Airbnb effectively. And if you are like, what the hell is Airbnb? I am going to explain that to you. So this video was sort of requested by LJ, who runs the channel A Journey East on YouTube, and I will link her channel below on one of my vlogs. The last one, it's called The Airbnb Host from Hell. She commented and said she'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about using the site. So I thought I would do sort of like a 101 video because it can definitely be like really tricky and complicated, but using Airbnb can also be fabulous. So let us delve right into it. So first of all, what is Airbnb and why have I been using it so much? Because I've been staying in mostly Airbnbs since I've been nomadic for about 2.5 months now. So Airbnb is a website that helps to facilitate traveling and lodging experiences between hosts and travelers. So basically, anybody can list a property that they have up on the site that you're able to rent out either fully or a room or a shared room. And as the traveler, then you can use this as an option for places to stay that can be unique, that can give you a more realistic experience of the city or the place that you're going to, and also that's cost effective because it's a lot cheaper than, say, staying in a hotel. So that's Airbnb in a nutshell. It actually stands for Air, Breakfast, and Bed because it's spelled Air, letter B, letter N, letter B. So how do you use Airbnb? Well, you can use it anytime that you're traveling and need a place to stay. You could use it in place of staying at a hotel on a work trip or any other kind of vacation. But it's definitely mostly for travelers, and it's mostly for like people who are a little bit more adventurous and maybe someone like me who's a nomad or who's traveling for a longer period of time. It's definitely not people who are looking to have like a relaxing, restorative vacation. It's definitely not that kind of a website. So if you're looking to just chill out for a week by the beach, I would not suggest using Airbnb. If you're going backpacking in Europe, however, I would totally suggest it. So the ins and outs, you can definitely have both positive, negative, and experiences that are somewhere in between. I would definitely say just be prepared for anything. There's definitely ways that you can prepare, which we're going to talk about. So if you're looking at a potential listing, here are some of the things that you're going to want to look for to ensure that the property is as it's described and it's going to be a positive experience for you. So first, let's talk about an experienced host versus an inexperienced host. So an experienced host will probably have maybe between 50 and 100 reviews because people can leave reviews of their experiences staying with that person, and most people do, and I would say you should because it just helps everybody else out in the community. And so you can go and read these reviews, and if they have like tons of positive ones, they are also eventually eligible to be what's known as a super host, which is basically someone who is super legit and has been given like tons of high ratings over time. So that would be somebody like who's experienced, who knows how to use the site and doesn't really need any assistance or learning on the back end. Now, an inexperienced host probably has like less than 20 reviews in total, I would say. But many only have like 5 or maybe even 0. It could be someone who's completely new to using Airbnb. And you'd probably be shocked in terms of the turnover rate of positive experiences with that, because personally, I've found that more of the hosts I've had who weren't very experienced were actually better than the ones I had that were super experienced. And I think this is because the inexperienced host definitely relies on those positive reviews and feedback a lot more because they need it, or else they're not really going to be able to get other people to stay with them. So definitely something to think about. Obviously, the experienced host has kind of already proven themselves. So in my experience, I feel like they don't need to work as hard to impress you. So they don't. But then again, an experienced host knows what they're doing, and there's probably not going to be any surprises. Although, if you want to go back and watch my Airbnb host from hell video, which I will have linked below, that person, just to keep in mind, was a super host on the site and has probably like 60 reviews that are pretty much all positive. So you can have a terrible host who's still ranked on the site as being awesome. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's not as black and white as it probably looks, or maybe even as Airbnb wants it to be. So next we're going to talk about street view. So it doesn't give you the exact address of the listing until you book it, but it gives you the street and a circle radius with like a couple of blocks as to where it is. So definitely go on Google Street View, look up that street and see where it is. And I've made the mistake of not doing that before and then having a listing be in a bad area and then having to cancel it. So definitely use Street View, see where it is. If you know anybody that lives in the city too, you can always ask them like where this really is, because you definitely want to ensure that you're safe and you're staying in a place that looks good in terms of the neighborhood that it's in. Another thing is pictures and details. You definitely want to find a place that has a lot of pictures of every room, especially the rooms that you're going to be staying in if you're getting like a private room. Lots of details about the house rules. I find that the more details there are, the better, because then you know exactly what to expect and what the property has to offer. Another thing you want to look for is the price. Now, the lowest price is not always going to be your best option, and you want to make sure that the listing has pretty comparable prices to those other ones in the area that show up, because if it doesn't, that's kind of a red flag, and that means that either the host is really inexperienced and just wants to go cheaper so they can get more guests, which that's not always necessarily bad, but figure that out if that is indeed the case as to why it's priced lower. It could be in a bad neighborhood. It could just be a nice property that's in a crappy area. It could be something shady going on. It could be like less than desirable living circumstances. You never know. So you want to make sure that you figure out the reason it's priced lower. And if you can't figure it out, I would honestly probably stay away from it. The last thing is looking for verifications. Now, Airbnb has an option for you to verify your ID, and this includes like an offline ID, like your state ID, for example, phone number, social media sites, email, what have you. Look for those. If somebody doesn't have their identity and information verified, I wouldn't take the chance of booking, because you want to make sure the person who is on the site is who they really claim to be. Now let's review some overall red flags that you want to avoid and make sure are not present in a listing that you're looking at. One is weird photos or photos that don't include many of the rooms that you'd be staying in. So let's say you're going to be in a private room that's in a house and they don't have any pictures of the room, just the outside of the house, and let's say the kitchen, yeah, that's going to be a red flag right there, because you're not going to be able to see what your room actually looks like. I've seen actually tons of listings that have this problem, so this is a lot more common than you think. Profile hasn't really been filled out much, or there's not a lot of information. That's also a red flag, because it means that the host has not put a whole lot of time into their Airbnb profile. And in my experience, the people who don't do that don't care as much about hosting. They're not as invested. It's also probably likely a newer, inexperienced host. So that means they're not going to put that time and energy and investment into your stay. So if it has hardly any information, definitely avoid it. You also don't know what you're getting into, which is never good. If the person has 0 reviews or no one has stayed at the property, you also might want to avoid it, because then you have literally nothing to go off of in terms of if the place is good or not. Now, I will say I did stay at one place where this was the case, and it was the best experience I've had on Airbnb, and I stayed at another place where this was the case, and I ended up canceling it because it wasn't really what I expected it to be. So again, it doesn't necessarily always turn out to be a red flag, but in most cases, it's probably best to avoid those kind of properties. Wait until somebody has stayed there so you can know if it's legit. Cancellations. Now, every time that a host cancels a stay, it will show up in the review section. So make sure to check that, because if the person has canceled a lot of different reservations, the chance is high that they could cancel yours too. I actually did have this happen. I booked a place and she had like more cancellations than not in her review section, but I just didn't really take that into account because it was my first time using it. It was actually the first place I booked on Airbnb, and she ended up canceling 2 weeks prior, and I shouldn't have really been surprised. You do get all your money back and all that. You don't have to worry. It's just annoying. And, especially if they're canceling like a day or two before your trip, that's going to really put a wrench in your plans. So if they've canceled on quite a few people, I would avoid that property. If they have a very strict cancellation policy, that's also probably a red flag because, if they have like no flexibility at all, that just totally puts up bad vibes for me because why would you not want to give me an option in case something goes wrong? If the host is not responsive to messages, that's another red flag because, again, it means they're not putting a whole lot of time and investment into their profile. You can actually see a response rate, for the host on the profile. So definitely look for that. And then also if they don't respond to your messages or don't like respond fully to all your questions, I would avoid them because they're clearly not that invested in making sure that you're comfortable staying with them. And lastly, your gut instinct. If something inside of you says that this place is weird or it's too good to be true, there's something wrong, avoid it because your gut is probably right like 99% of the time. And you're not going to miss anything by listening to your gut, even if it feels logically weird. So definitely, if you just feel like something is off about the place, just avoid it. Don't try to like outsmart your gut instincts because you'll probably just end up wishing that you never tried to do that in the first place. Now, let's say that you're at the property and something goes wrong. Either it doesn't live up to your expectations or the host does something that's weird or inappropriate, or there was a change in your travel plans and you have to leave early. Here is what you should do in that situation. The first thing always is to contact Airbnb. They do have pretty good customer service, I will say, so don't be hesitant to contact them. If you have any concerns or questions, they have a number and an email. So definitely, if you're having an issue, make sure to contact them. Don't hesitate. They're not like super weird or pushy, which is great. Because I know a lot of people are probably like scared of that and talking to a company, but definitely contact them. It will serve you well. It's not really ever going to backfire. Because like, for example, for the place that was in a bad neighborhood that I had to cancel, the host was not wanting to give me an entire full refund for the trip because she had to give me half of it, but then half of it was essentially like up to her. I had to kind of send a request. And even though she didn't accept it, because the customer service person that I talked to understood my situation, she gave me the full refund anyway. So definitely talk to customer service because in situations like that, if you do take that initiative to talk to them, they're going to help you out and make sure that you have a positive experience and don't leave with a sour taste in your mouth. Also, don't be afraid to talk to your host. I know it can seem like kind of awkward or you might be feeling shy about something. If it's a situation where the host is the problem, definitely I would say talk to Airbnb first if you're like scared to talk to your host. But if that's not the issue, definitely just be upfront and you also get their phone number and stuff, so send a text message or something if you're feeling kind of strange or something is off for you. Definitely communicate that to them. Finally, cancel. I know it can probably seem like the hugest hassle to have to cancel and find another place to stay and worry about if you're going to get a full refund and all that stuff. I get it. But if it's not for you, if you're not going to have an enjoyable experience, why would you stay there? You want to make sure that the experiences you're having with anything that you're paying for are good. So if it's not what it should be, if it's not living up to the expectation that it put out there and that they said they were going to, then you don't owe them your business. So don't be afraid to cancel if you're feeling any kind of like doubt or hesitation or something goes wrong. Don't feel like you owe that host your stay there because in reality it's a business for both of you, for them and for yourself. So you want to make sure you're looking out for yourself and your best interest. Here are my small little handy dandy tips that you can use to improve your overall experience and the experience for other people. Firstly, always leave a review. Like I said in the beginning, it's helpful because then other people can know what to expect and you can pay it forward for the people who've helped you with reviews. Use a credit card if possible when you're booking, because it does take the money immediately out of your bank account. How it works is they take the money in escrow, Airbnb, and then it delivers it to the host once you check into the property. But it does take it right away. So I would suggest using a credit card. That way, if you cancel or something, you don't have to worry about like your actual dollars being taken out of like a debit account. So definitely, if you can, use a credit card. Definitely message the host. You could ask about her arrival details. You can get a sense of their personality, especially if you can't get that sense from their profile. I would definitely message them and see what they're like. How to treat the property. Airbnb says it best: treat the property like it's your own home, and I completely agree. If you have that level of respect and you're not messing things up and you're not treating it like a hotel room that the maid's just going to come clean, that's going to benefit you in terms of you being a good guest. You know, you don't want to be rude or obnoxious or be loud or do things that are disrespectful. So definitely act like it's your house that you're staying at and like treat it with that same level of respect that you would with your own stuff. Make sure the vibe is what you're looking for, because some people are super friendly, they're super open, they want to make friends, they want to talk, and some people are just in it for the business side. So if you aren't really keen on like just doing it as a business interaction, which personally I like doing it more to meet new people, because I'm like, what's the point of staying with somebody if you're not gonna make friends and socialize? Then definitely make sure you're not staying at a place that is marketed that way and where the host treats it that way. You can, in the interaction with guests section, you can find information about that. So you can kind of see like how your host is viewing the experience and how comfortable they are with socializing. So hopefully this was helpful. It's 23 minutes of filming, so I've got a lot to edit down. There's definitely a lot to learn, and even me, like having done this for 2.5 months, like almost exclusively staying at these places, I definitely still don't know everything. So if you have a specific question or comment about Airbnb, definitely feel free to leave it in the comments below. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.